Staying on that story, two royals reportedly named in Omid Scobie's new book as having asked about the colour of Prince Archie's skin before he was born have been identified by Piers on TalkTV.
I don't believe any racist comments were ever made by any of the royal family, and until there is actual evidence of those comments being made, I will never believe it. But now we can start the process of finding out if they ever got uttered, what the context was, and whether there was any racial intent at all. Like I say, I don't believe there was. The royals who are named in this book are King Charles and Catherine, Princess of Wales.
There it is, the first time they've been named publicly in the UK since Meghan Markle made the original allegation during her and Prince Harry's interview with Oprah back in March 2020. Since then, stories have varied after Prince Harry backtracked on the claims during an interview with Tom Bradby when his memoir Spare was released. But the wider question we want to ask is this. Well, it's not there, but the wider question we would like to ask is this. Does any of this change? In fact, it's not even on there either. So we'll come back to that. Joining me now in the studio, thank goodness, TalkTV presenter JJ Anisiobi and TalkTV's royal correspondent Rupert Bell. How are you doing, JJ, by the way?
Very well, thank you.
Good to see you. Rupert, good afternoon to you. Help us out here if you can. The names have come out, so we've got that much. What does it mean in the grander scale of where this story goes? Because, firstly, I'm hearing nothing from Meghan or Harry. There's been no oh, no, they've all got it wrong. So nothing in that respect, which is quite telling. And it would be really peculiar, if not impossible, for the King and the Princess of Wales to come out and make any comment on this.
I don't think we'll see them making any comment on it, certainly not in the short term. And they probably don't want to go long term either, because if they suddenly start taking legal action or whatever, if that's where they may be thinking and looking at the legals of this whole issue, then that again will put further spotlight on them. They would love this to go away because they see it perhaps as something of nothing. As the Queen said initially, recollections may vary. And that's the issue. Once that Oprah Winfrey interview happened, it then has led to this endless speculation, and which they've backtracked, as you mentioned, that Tom Bradby interview. Now we've suddenly got two people being named, possibly named at the centre of it. So it's all just, it's unseemly, I think, more than anything else. And that's the sad thing for the royal family, who are trying to get on with their day-to-day job. We've seen the King is currently in the UAE for this COP28 summit, and I'm sure he'd be liking that to be the main focus of his people's attention, rather than this sort of soap opera element of the royal family, which is certainly been one, it's been a big soap opera this year with all these various documentaries, books coming out, all those with one source at the heart of it, which is the Sussexes sort of, since their split, have created all these diversions for the royal family.
Yeah, and I'm really confused, Rupert, to be honest, because I'm looking at the essence of this, as you rightly say. It came from the Oprah interview. It wasn't a passing comment. It was deliberately said and almost choreographed, almost scripted to have an impact in that interview. It wasn't a side comment. It was a big part of it. And then never mentioned again. And then Scobie comes out and says, I wanted to get to the bottom of this, like he's investigating Watergate or something. But then also says, Rupert, that, I'm not going to name anybody. So, did he want to name them? Did he not want to name them? What's the deal here? And then somehow the Dutch get a phantom copy of a chapter that he almost is one step away from saying, I never even wrote, Governor.
Well, this is the problem. We're now trying to work out who's telling the truth. It's a bit like trying to work out what's going on in a COVID inquiry. Who is telling the truth here? And therein lies the problem. The royal family are saying nothing.
Yep.
But where is Omid Scobie's been saying, look, he didn't know about it. He was aware of the legal things. He never named names. But how does a copy end up with names in it? So what are you questioning the translators in Holland who get a copy? They're working from a manuscript that they've been sent. Names must have been in that. Now, how did those names get there? Omid Scobie is sort of passing the buck on that one. He's also saying that he's not Meghan's mouthpiece. He doesn't sit down with her, but he has said that he has talked to people in her inner circle. So the whole thing is it's unedifying, really, more than anything else. Look, we're not suggesting the royal family is perfect. It has got problems that it needs to make sure it's seen to be relevant, and they've got to work out where they're going and how they take this, the royal institution.
Sure.
But these kind of allegations, that I think they feel far from the truth from my perspective.
There it is, Rupert. Thank you. Always good to get an expert view on this. JJ Anisiobi. JJ, good to see you, by the way. You've followed this quite a lot. You know your way around the showbiz world. You know how PR works and all of that, and the little strange games that are played, the bear traps that are set. I mean, this one's, I've got to be honest with you, JJ, it's playing with my head.
Really?
I can't work it. It's just completely mysterious. Just to repeat it again, big allegation made on the Oprah interview, never made again by Meghan and Harry, and in fact, as we said in the ITV interview, almost denied that it was made. Certainly was denied that it was a racist allegation when it clearly was a racist allegation.
Yeah, so let me start by saying I'm not a royalist. I'm not really a big fan of the royals. I think they're paid far too much money from this country for being born as a royal. But I can say that King Charles and Kate Middleton are not the royal racist in question. That I can say, because I've spoken...
I was going to say, how do you know that?
So I've spoken today to a person who works with the royal family closely, with the senior royals. This person worked with the Queen, and this person is friends with Charles and with a number of the other senior royals.
Okay.
So they have told me today who the so-called royal racist is, and it's not Charles or Kate. Now, don't go through and say to me, is it this person, is this person, because obviously, by way of...
I've got a big old list.
You'd be able to identify...
There's a lot of cousins in that family, JJ.
well, exactly.
So hang on. So your sources are always pretty good, JJ. So within the last hour or so, you have heard from a reliable royal source, literally to your face, that King Charles and Kate are not
the person who asked this question.
Who asked this question about the colour of Archie's skin.
So let's go back to the Oprah interview, because this is where it starts. From what my source told me, it starts there. When the Oprah interview aired, everyone, all the senior royals, were concerned, mostly more so upset, because they were all implicated. Because rather than saying it was this person specifically, it's then, is it them, is it them, is it them? Harry and Meghan only said it wasn't the Queen, our late Queen, it wasn't Prince Philip. But everyone else was worried. So there were conversations happening between the royals about this for 2-3 weeks after this incident happened. And that's when my source was told from several of the senior royals, well, actually, this is the person who asked the question. Whether that question was asked in an innocent way or whether that question was asked with racist undertones, I don't know. But I do know the person who did it, and it was not Charles and it was not Kate.
And in fact, wasn't the only thing I think the Sussexes did say, was there not a point when they did say it wasn't Charles, or somebody said it wasn't Charles, but then this has now come around, and it started out, by the way, we were all looking for one person, and then suddenly
it's two people.
Scobie comes along.
Exactly.
And it's two people.
Yeah. So Scobie thinks he knows better than Meghan and Harry. Meghan and Harry themselves said it was one person who made this comment. And then Scobie says, no, there was two people. And Meghan... I doubt highly that what Scobie's saying about it being two people is correct. I don't believe that he's right on that. I think he's fabricated that to try and move the story along a bit, because his book is only publishing things that we already knew about. But I can confirm to you, from my reliable source, it was one person, and it was not Charles, and it was not Kate Middleton. And you see me on the talk, 6 p.m, Monday to Friday. I'm not a fan of Kate Middleton either. I'm normally quite disparaging about her. I may have called her Lazy Kate a few times. Yeah. I'm not here to defend Kate Middleton, but in the name of journalism, from what I've been told, it ain't her.
Listen, I've known you a while, JJ. I very rarely come to you for any matters of wisdom, as you know. However, when it comes to areas such as this, sources, show business, PR, as I said at the beginning, I know that your sources are impeccable. And the person you spoke to was quite clear, just to reiterate that the people or person we're not talking... This is not the King. It is not the Princess of Wales.
It's not the King.
It's somebody else.
It's not the Princess of Wales. It's one person. It is not two people. This witch hunt is going on. And even after I've said this now, this clip will go out and people will be saying, well, then it must be this person or this person. The royal family is quite large. And the person who asked the question, and this is the thing, there's no question, there's no doubt about the question. The question was asked, how dark is the child going to be? But I don't know how that question was asked, as I say, whether it was racial tones or whether it was just common questions. For example, if you and I don't know, my wife were having a baby, people may question, is it going to be a dark child or is it going to be ghostly pale like you? You know, that may happen.
Casper-like.
Casper-like, exactly, yeah. Will it be ugly like the father?
Well, everybody... Oh, would it even be the father? Just to throw that back. But yeah, and that would be, you know, we talked about, I think last night on the talk, I think we talked about this, or it comes up a lot. That in itself is not a weird conversation.
No, it's commonplace.
That's a really, if
Yeah.
you've got a mixed race family, that's quite a common...
I would imagine if I'd been in that room, I'd have been asking, do you think it's going to be ginger? Because Harry's ginger, right?
Yeah,
It's just a normal question. And Meghan is biracial. She's a mixed heritage herself. So I think...
Because she's mixed, and she's a very light-skinned black woman.
Yeah, precisely.
So what would, you know, would that mean the baby... Yeah, it's an obvious question.
Exactly. So I don't... But as I say, I don't know in what way the question was asked. If it was asked with some kind of, well, will it be too dark? You know, if it's asked like that, mate, then fine. And look, end of the day...
Which I would kind of doubt that it would be asked like that. I mean, even by strange old kind of, you know, your embarrassing uncle at the wedding kind of standards.
Yeah.
It would be curious that somebody would, you know, we're not going to have one of those in the family.
Precisely.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, but look, the fact is, whether we like it or not, Harry and Meghan perceived it to be a slight against them, but neither of them said it was racist. Omid Scobie has made this now, reignited this into a race war, and which of those royals are racist.
But she kind of intoned that there was a conversation rather than a statement, but it was never said again. And interestingly, it doesn't appear in Spared, didn't appear in the Netflix documentary. You might think if ever there was an area to clear something up, their own Netflix doc, that would be the one, unless they did it and they cut it out, who knows. What is quite telling today, though, is that, and in the last 24, 48 hours, Meghan and Harry haven't come out, have they, and said...
They said nothing, and I think that's a really bad move.
No, you know, don't look at anyone in our immediate family, because that's not who we're talking about.
Harry and Meghan should put out a statement today denouncing this book, Endgame, saying we had nothing to do with it, we don't believe any of the truths, so-called truths in it. They had to distance themselves from Omid Scobie. Because obviously, previously, in his other book, they denied briefing him. They weren't working with him. They weren't friends. Then it came out in court. Actually, no, you did brief him, Meghan, and you are friends with him. But I think that relationship has parted ways, and this is just Scobie cashing in. And he is cashing in. The book's selling brilliantly.
True, apart from in Holland, where you can't get a copy of it now because they're busy. I mean, I think there's a note to self. If you're a budding author and you're looking which territory to release your book in, don't go to Holland.
Don't go to Holland.
Because you don't know what they're going to release over there. It could be anything. I didn't write these paragraphs.
But that's another thing. So what
that's just bizarre, right?
So the people who translated the book into Dutch added in bits of information that weren't in there previously. Well, find out who that was. That's a sackable offence, surely.
It's what it's got to be. I mean, I can understand that transcripts get moved around and, you know, obviously there's an editing process. But to get to the point of publishing, I mean, not to the point where they looked through it and went, oh, look, we've left this bit in. Better take it out before it goes to printers. It didn't get to that. This was on the shelf.
Yeah.
This was being sold with an extra chapter in it.
But nobody
spotted it?
Omid Scobie needs to come out and say exactly how these names arrived in the book, because he is still saying, I never put the names in there. So they've just out of thin air, they've appeared from nowhere. I don't believe him. I believe that he had several copies going to different countries. The version that goes to the United Arab Emirates, for example, will have to be heavily censored with some of the things that are written in it.
I would have thought so,
So I think he did put the names in there, and now it's come out and he's trying to backtrack. But
do you think it changes people... We're asking that question of whether it changes people's views, these allegations change people's views of the royal family.
No, I think it's more damaging for Harry and Meghan, to be honest, because these allegations are not new. They were from the past, of course, it had already happened. I think most people in this country see King Charles as being a decent guy. I don't think people see him as being anything other than
even if you're not a massive royalist.
Exactly.
He's a nice bloke.
He's a nice bloke. He fights for the environment. He has now called the King's Trust. He does a lot of stuff.
Owns Cornwall.
He owns Cornwall.
All of this stuff going on.
The old Duchess sells cheese and Waitrose. So I don't think it's actually going to do much damage to the royal family. But I think people are looking at this and saying, if this guy Scobie is part of your clique, Harry and Meghan, why are you allowing him to continue to disparage your family?
Because it looks like some kind of revenge almost. almost.
Yeah.
And I said at the beginning, like the mafia Don, you know, you don't do the work yourself. You sit back, you let it unravel in other form. You let other people do it, and then you go, oh, no, not us. We would never say something like that.
Which perhaps is why they haven't issued a statement to separate themselves from this, because then they are no longer the royal family. Harry and Meghan can come out with a statement and say, categorically, this has nothing to do with us, and we denounce it completely.
Okay.